Stay tuned for tonight's adventure with the Fat Man.
Okay, here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is. I hope it's good to be where you are because I'm really excited to be here today. My name is Baltimore Fats, and this is the continuation of Master of Reality. Okay, so I was doing a take this morning, and my first take, and which I never use. But while I was doing it, a little bit of inspiration came to me, and it sort of derailed the take. But I wanted to share this with you guys, right away because I'm really excited about it. And so here's a little bit of my first take and a little bit of conclusion, and I'll pick up with the rest of this series either later today or tomorrow. Okay, have fun, guys. Okay, so we're just going to pick up right where we left off, right, with the incorporation of the Royal Society of London into the Crown. And I'm just going to read this again real quick. It says, "We have long and fully resolved with ourselves to extend not only the boundaries of the empire, but also the very arts and sciences." And I commented yesterday, who is we and ourself? And I'm thinking, is Charles talking about him and God? Right? Because God is the King of England. Right? But to extend the boundaries of the empire, but also the very arts and sciences. Now, what this is saying to me is that it's going to create arts and sciences that are beneficial to the crown. That's the goal of the charter, to create arts and sciences. And that's also, probably with other guilds like writing guilds or something, that's going to control your theater and things like that, along with your artistry, what painters can learn how to paint and so on and so forth. They are creating this here. They're going to institutionalize science. And so now, as I'm moving the story forward, let's try to pay attention to how many guys are actually members of the Royal Society. Right, and so just to touch base briefly here again. And so now with the origins of spectroscopy and the science of it, right, we know that the Romans, of course, were familiar with the ability of the prism to generate a rainbow of colors. And I think I also just want to reinforce the similarity here between Roman and the pleroma, which was the light in Gnosticism. I don't think that can be understated. Right, so we go through all these guys, and these are the setup guys, at least the ones that's in the narrative, for us to go back and look at, right? And Newton, the pretty boy, right? And now we skip ahead in this history of spectroscopy. We skip ahead, over 100 years, pretty much, right? Yeah, I mean, 1672 here, we have this Wollaston guy in 1802 building an improved model. So they used Newton's model to lay all this groundwork for 100 plus years. Right, and then this guy comes along, and so let's find out a little bit about William Hyde Wollaston. Right? Oh, are you kidding me? He was a fellow of the Royal Society, and also one-time president of the Royal Society. Go figure. Right, and this story is a little bit unbelievable. I'm not going to get too deep into these guys, but he goes to Charterhouse, and Charterhouse is starting to play a much bigger part of this, and I'm going to get into Charterhouse somewhere else down the line. And Cambridge plays a huge part in this, but where is his... But so he's born in East Dereham, Norfolk, the son of the priest astronomer, 1737 to 1815. And now this is, at this stage of the game, this is where they're going to start separating the religion out about this time. Right, and placing more of the focus on the colleges and amateur astronomers, right, and what they can bring to the table. We're going to look a little bit into that too. Right, so, but, right, he came from a financially well-off family, had 17 kids. As a priest, astronomy must have paid really well. 17! That's a good Catholic family for you. And so he goes to Gonville and Caius College in Cambridge, which is an official branch of Cambridge University. All right, and just quickly, we're just going to look at some of the alumni coming out of there so you can see, what type of school this is. Right, the joint discoverer of the structure of DNA went there. Right, the discoverer of the neutron went there. All right, developer of penicillin, Stephen Hawking. Hawking comes from there, so we know the agenda, if one exists, that this school is pumping out, right? And again, I have to just want to qualify this. I don't know anything, but with looking at the narrative and believing that our history is false and looking to explore that paradigm, these are the types of things you have to look at. If there is something like that going on, where do you look for it, and who would be responsible for it, and that kind of thing. And that's kind of what I'm looking for, right? So he comes up with this new spectrum, so he builds this new spectrometer, right, improving Newton's model that can focus the spectrum on a screen to really allow the study. So they were only looking at, look at the pretty lights for 120 years. And then von Fraunhofer comes along, right? He makes a diffraction grating. He kind of creates this, and I have an early picture of that I'll get to later on. And one thing, kind of looking at this, the way it's set up, is the colors, are coming from the white. And so many of the early color patterns, and this is just coming to me right now. So many of the early color. Should I bring up pictures? No, that'd take too long. And something struck me while kind of looking at this and thinking about the prism and how this is the breakdown of white light, and you combine all of this and it makes the white light. And I didn't bring up, because this is just sort of new to me, and I didn't bring up any pictures because I really wasn't. And I don't have any pictures brought up for, because it's really just sort of coming to me, but seeing the white against the colors and thinking about this is the rainbow, or not the rainbow, but this is the spectrum, right? That if you fold all this into one, it's going to create that white light. And thinking about like the color patterns I've been following, like the red and the white, England and Croatia and all that, and then you have the blue and the white, Scotland. That some of these, and time now, see, God, thinking about this, I don't have pictures pulled up. Okay, so it just took a moment to set up some pictures because this is really sort of coming through to me now. Looking at the spectrum here against the white background, the spectrum is the dispersion of this white light, and looking at the colors sort of like individually, it's making me think of the color patterns that I follow through like the royal families and stuff, right? And like England is red and white, right? And we have a red and white spectrum here. Scotland is blue and white. Like the blue and white over here, right? And the same with, like Israel is blue and white. And Bohemia, red and white. And so tracking these color patterns. And now if we're looking at the fabrication of our realm, or how our realm was fabricated or could have been fabricated with this Gnosticism thing, right? And the demiurge was these like worm-like, these Yaldabaoth, right? And could perhaps the archon that the Yaldabaoth would have stolen from Sophia relate to the certain color bands? And that's why we have the color patterns for these royal families and things like that we have now. And these royal families tracing their bloodlines back to dragons. I love my little worm Yaldabaoth here. How many rays does he got? He's got 15 rays. But that's kind of like, I can't believe that. That's interesting. Thank you, Mr. von Fraunhofer. All right. All right, so I'm going to end this one here. I did continue with the first take, but I was just now so distracted by this idea, it wasn't going so well, so I'm going to have to get back to that stuff. But I did want to bring this out just a little bit further, because again, now my mind is racing with this. All right, so connecting the spectral chart here to the colors of the flags, which represent the colors of the royal families, and how if Yaldabaoth is the worm responsible for separating the colors of the white light, the Sophia, which is part of the pleroma, and now these colors could correspond to that. The white light is the pleroma, or the Sophia, and the primary color, or whatever, would be representative of where they fell in the spectrum. All right, so I did a couple of countries there, but also I wanted to point out, like Greece, also blue and white, and bringing these colors and associating them back to the at least that first millennia, that time of when Gnosticism was being written, the switch over from BC to Common Era, and tying all these color patterns that far back, the story is really coming in loud and clear now. And how Italy is red and white, but it's also green, and green is the result of the blending of blue and yellow. And France has aspects of the blue and the white, right? And Germany is black, red, and yellow, right? Pretty much the whole right half of the of the spectrum here, right? And just connecting it to that region, that Mediterranean, that Middle Eastern region. Turkey is red and white as well, and Egypt is the red, white, and black. So could these areas have been populated by the archons, as regional hubs for the work at hand, which is either creating our realm for Yaldabaoth or recovering it after some great catastrophe? And so the worm dragon archons of the red spectrum are red and white, right? And the dragon worm archons of the blue spectrum, are the blue and white. I don't know. I'm digging it. I don't know if anybody else has come up with this before, but I am absolutely inspired by this idea. Now it has me wanting to chase dragons. I'm an opium fiend for the truth. So I'm going to close this one here. This is just an example of, I stumbled into this one today, and so I'm thrilled to share it with you guys, and I hope you guys have been enjoying this one. And I thought it was only going to be 3 parts, but as all things, it's getting extended. But I have played with this one through to the end. It does have a definite ending, and so hopefully I'll get to it, by the end of this week or early next week. And again, I hope you guys are having as much fun as I am. So until the next one, cheers, guys.